Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. It's that time of the week, my favorite day of the week, because it's Masterclass Friday. Let's put everything on Do Not Disturb, get everything ready for today's Hot Rodding Photoshop Masterclass. Welcome back, everyone. Hope that you guys had a great, productive week and that it continues today with Masterclass Friday here at Adobe Live. My name is Terry White. For those of you who are new, we do these master classes every Friday that we can. And with that saying, we won't be doing them next week, but we will be here this week and the week after. Week after next, that is. So for those of you who are new, Masterclass Friday is where the Adobe evangelists get to do their various disciplines each Friday: photography, video, graphic design, digital painting, UI, UX design, and as well as Creative Cloud Express, with a few of the uh, daily creative challenges sprinkled in the middle. So there'll be a daily creative challenge following me today. So for those of you who are new as well, if you're watching this on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, wherever you're hanging out, that's cool. I see some people popping in on Facebook and YouTube, and of course we've got people on Adobe Live. You can hang out wherever you want and watch it, but if you want me to really participate, if you want to really participate in the comments, if you really want me to see your comment, head over to b.net/Adobe Live, log in with your free Adobe ID, and that way you're in the main chat. Now, it doesn't mean I won't see Martha and Angie and Michelle over there on Facebook and YouTube and Twitter, but it just means that I may not glance at that chat and the other chat at the same time. So on the main chat, I see people like Levon Hall and Jan and Snappy Clam and Bobby Orlando and Sean and JR Flores and all the people hanging out over there. So I'll try to look at both chats, but if I don't see it, head over to the main chat if I missed your question. And if I missed your question even on the main chat, it's not on purpose. It just means I didn't see it. So if you feel like I'm not paying attention to you, just wait a few minutes, ask it again. If someone doesn't chime in on the chat, I will usually see it. All right, we have a moderator here as well. Sam Peterson is here to keep you all in line. Make sure you do the right things. And I see Sam over on the Creative Cloud YouTube, sending people back over to Behance so that you can watch it in the main chat. All right, so welcome everyone. Happy Friday. Let's go ahead and dive into today's topic, which is hot rodding Photoshop. And when we say hot rodding, when you think of hot rods, what do you think? You think of classic cars that have had all kinds of accessories and modifications and adjustments made to them to make them faster, cooler looking, whatever it is. So we're going to be doing some of that today with Photoshop. We're going to be customizing it, making it look cooler, making it look the way you want it to look so that you can get the most out of your Photoshop experience. Photoshop is a lot of things to a lot of people, and therefore one interface doesn't fit everybody. So when you first launch Photoshop or install Photoshop for the first time, it's on an Essentials workspace, and that's basically the team picked like kind of the defaults that most people would start with, but by no means are you locked into those defaults. You can change it quite a bit to the way you want. So let's go ahead and dive into that, and I'm going to switch over to my desktop right now so you guys can see where I am. I've got an image open on the screen. The images that I use today will just be images because I need an image open, but they aren't necessarily crucial to the workflow. So any image will do for today's session. And I'll just open up different ones just to kind of keep it fresh throughout the hour. But again, like I said, none of these particular images have anything to do with today's topic. All right, so first and foremost, let me look at my list. Let's talk about the tool panel. That we spend a lot of time on the tool panel, clicking and using keyboard shortcuts to get to the tools we want because you use tools when you do things in Photoshop. However, since the beginning of time, the tool panel has defaulted to the left-hand side. I keep it on the left-hand side because if I move it, people will be confused and start asking me, what application is that? And it just keeps it simple for everyone that's coming in for the first time. But if you are a power user, or especially if you follow my colleague Julianne Cost, she makes a joke about this and says, I have to use a tool and then go all the way over here to use a panel and then all the way back over here to use a tool. And it's just that ping pong back and forth can get annoying at times. So this tool panel can be ripped off from the left-hand side. So I just pull this little bar, this little dashed bar right below the thing here, the title bar here, or the, I guess title bar. And this is what you pull it on. So if you're looking for what to pull on, it's that. All right, so now we can float it anywhere we want, but then it's gonna usually be in the way at some point. If you float it over your image, 9 times out of 10, it's gonna end up being in the way and just gonna have to constantly moving it. So what Julianne likes to do is she likes to throw it over here on the right-hand side. So therefore, now there's no more reach. It's right there, it's right there, it's right there, it's right there. It's out of the way, and now you freed up the entire left-hand side to do whatever you want. So now it's just image and all the stuff you need for the image. And then image. So you're not going back and forth between the tool panel all the way over to the other side to the regular panels. All right, but that's one tip that we'll borrow from Julianne today. There we go. Tear that off. All right, another one is that actually the tool panel didn't always used to look this way. Back when I first started with Photoshop, it was a double column tool panel. So I don't really, like I used to like it back then, and I almost hated the single column tool panel because it was different. But now I can't imagine not using the single column tool panel unless I'm on a laptop or something with a small resolution. So sometimes if you're on a like a really small resolution screen, the long list of tools may be too long for that screen. So a double column tool panel might work out better for you. It's just an option. So all I did to get to that double column tool panel was click these double arrows. So just one click. So it just basically expands it out and collapses it back down to one. All right, so customizing the columns, that's just a click. It'll stay that way forever. Putting it where you want, that's just moving it to where you want. It'll stay that way forever. But I'm going to put it back over here just because, again, for all the reasons I mentioned earlier, people will come in and say, what's this? Why is it over there? I'll keep it over here for now, but you can move yours over to the right-hand side so you don't have to make those trips anymore. But anyway, now let's talk about the tools themselves. The list of tools that we see right now are certainly not all the tools that Photoshop has. It looks like a very short list compared to all the tools I think I know Photoshop has. And that's because I'm on that Essentials workspace. This is the one that Photoshop defaults to. Now you'll notice I have my own workspace. We'll get to that in a few minutes. I have my TW photography workspace, but Essentials, 3D, motion, painting, photography, and graphic and web are the ones that come with Photoshop, or the default workspaces. So originally workspaces were just for panels. In other words, which panels did you want open, and you could switch a workspace and get to those panels quicker. Then once Photoshop became more customizable, now your workspace is for just about everything. It's all inclusive. It's for your panels, it's for your tools, it's for the specific tool panel you customize. It's for menus. It's for keyboard shortcuts. It's for everything. So you can literally set up multiple workspaces for all the types of work you do. If you want a very concise workspace, just a couple panels, just a few tools for the kind of work you do, you can certainly set that up. If you want everything that's possible, you can certainly set that up. So for example, when I look at the tool panel, when I switch from Essentials to the default photography one, the tool panel got longer because the default photography tool panel shows me more tools. So watch it again. I'll go back to Essentials. And the panels changed too, but the tool panel got shorter. So when you switch between these workspaces, you can actually set up your tools to match the workspace as well. So how do you set up your tools to match your workspace? Let's go back to Essentials, because we'll start with the basic tool panel. And then let's go into, okay, so Jan's asking, okay, are workspaces saved in the cloud, Creative Cloud, or do I have to back up the workspaces folder? That's a good question. I know with Photoshop syncs presets, I don't know if workspaces are included in that. I should know that answer, but I don't. So I will be the first to admit when I don't know something. So that's a good question. I'll have to look it up. And if someone wants to look it up in the meantime in the chat, that's great, and let us know. But I honestly don't know. I don't know if that's part of the preset syncing or not. So good question. I think it is, but I could be wrong. All right, so let's do that. let's leave it at that. All right, so let's go up to edit and let's go to toolbar. So this, by the way, so it started off with just keyboard shortcuts. Then they added menus. Now they've added toolbar, and this list could grow. They might add something else, who knows? But let's go ahead and try toolbar. So the toolbar, this is one of, like, I can't remember, it wasn't that long ago, maybe a year, 2 years ago, 3 years ago when this feature first came out, and I was like, oh, thank God, thank goodness, thank whoever, because we now don't have to have what the Photoshop team deems as our order of tools, which tools we have, which tools are buried, which tools are not buried. You could literally make the tool panel everything you want. So let's say I'm going to create a new photography workspace, since this is a photography masterclass, and I do retouching, and I know which tools I need to retouch with and which tools I definitely don't. So for example, I don't need slicing in my retouches. So I'm going to take the slice tool and drag it off. And let me turn off my sound there. Okay. So I don't need the slice select tool. I'm just basically getting rid of tools I don't need. I use the frame tool, but I don't need it for retouching. So I'm going to go ahead and move that over. I don't need the 3D material eyedropper tool. I don't need the color sampler tool. I don't need the ruler. Oh, yeah, I do need the ruler tool. I don't need the note tool. I don't need the 1, 2, 3 count tool, or the count tool is what it really is. I do need spot healing. I do need the healing brush. I do need the patch tool. I do need content aware. I usually don't use the red eye tool very often, so I'm going to take that one off. Now, the tools I'm throwing off to the side here, that doesn't mean they're gone from Photoshop. It just means they won't be in your primary toolbar. I don't need the mixer brush. That's great for digital painting, but I don't need it. I don't need the pencil tool. I don't need the art history tool. I don't need, so I'm basically starting with what I don't need, and then I'll customize what's left. All right, so I'll keep the eraser tools for now. I don't use the, God, I can't remember the last time I used the paint bucket tool. I don't use the 3D material paint bucket drop tool. I use those. Now, I'll keep this section just in case, but I really don't need any of the pen tools when I'm retouching. Usually not. I'm usually not. If I'm going to keep the pen tools, I'm going to keep the path tools. Okay. But I don't need the vertical mask type tool, this tool. Don't need those. The shape tools I could use. Okay, so let's say these are the ones I'm keeping for now. Well, now we're going to start with the order. Oh, by the way, I don't need the artboard tool if I'm doing unless I'm doing graphic design. So, well, move tool I definitely want on top because I'm always using that. But then I would say that this section of spot healing brushes and things, I need that up here. Like that's my jam. These are the ones I use all the time when I'm retouching. However, I move that whole group just by dragging off to the side and dragging the whole thing up. But if I leave, and by the way, the tool's changing as you do this. So visually, the tool's already changed. So I only see the spot healing brush tool. I really use the spot healing brush tool and the patch tool the most. So I don't want to have to always go dig for the patch tool. So I can take the patch tool and drag it out separate it from the other ones. So now I've got the spot healing brush tool and the patch tool separated. Great. Click on each one as I need them. Don't ever have to dig or drill down to get to it anymore. So you can separate tools from the group so that you don't have to dig for them anymore. Now, I'm always using, I am using the brush tool a lot when I'm retouching. So let's move those up. Actually, we'll move, well, yeah. Hang on, we'll keep that like there because I just realized there's the stuff that I don't need is this stuff right now. So I'm just kind of just getting the stuff in the order I want. All right, patch tool. I use the lasso stuff a lot. I use these selection tools a lot. I want the object selection tool separated. There we go. Quick select. Yep, that works. And then I was going to go grab the, clone stamp tool. Yep, those should be higher in the list, probably before cropping. And you could also put the tools in the order that you do them in. So I use the sharpen tool all the time. I don't use the blur tool that much, but I use the sharpen all the time. So I might move that up definitely higher in the list. And I use the dodge and burn tools. So I don't use, here, let's move the group up first. I was going to say I don't use the smudge tool that often, like ever, but I do use the dodge and burn. So let's move those up again to maybe here. And I'll separate dodge and burn out from each other. Okay, great. So I could just keep tweaking this, but let's say this is it. Let's say this was my set of custom tools that I want. And I could always come back and say, oh, you know what, I wish this tool were higher in the list than the other ones. I can always move them around later. But anyway, this is it for now. So now what? Once you get all the tools in the order you want them in, once you've remove the ones you never use, once you've broken them out, so they're not buried, tools that are not buried under each other the way you want, how do you group them? Drag one tool into another one to group them. So for example, if I wanted to group quick select and patch, I would just drag it into each other. I believe into each other. Yeah, see, that created a group of those two. So just drag one directly on top of another one to create a group. But I don't want those grouped together, so I will separate it back out. All right, remember to hold Shift and click Done. Why am I holding Shift to click Done? All right, but I'm not done. But anyway, just let me know, why am I holding Shift? Because what I'm going to do before I click Done is I want to always be able to get back to this set of tools. If I just click Done, then it's going to change it, but it's not saving it as a preset, and that's what I really want. So before I click Done, I'm going to hit Save Preset, and that will give me the ability to name this toolbar. Therefore, it can always be copied to another machine. And by the way, that doesn't save with the preset, so you do need to move that over manually. Copy it to another machine, and do whatever. Oh, the banana tool, I get it now. That's a what do you call them? Easter egg. And I'll tell you what he means by that. Anyway, you can move it to another machine, so that way you don't have to keep recreating this on all your other, computers that you run Photoshop on. All right, so I'm going to save this one as photography Masterclass retouching. So that's my photography Masterclass retouching toolbar. All right, so we'll save that. And so now I always have this to refer back to, and I have my regular one that you saw there that was already there that I always use. All right, my TW, whatever it was, preset. Okay, so so what is it? If I hold down the Shift and click Done, that gives you the banana here instead of the 3-dot menu. So that's the Easter egg. So if you hadn't clicked the Shift and held down, you would see 3 dots here at the very bottom of your tool panel. And that will give you, by the way, if you hold it down, that'll give you all the missing tools. So if you needed one of those tools that you took out of the list, and you say, oh, this one time I need the note tool for whatever reason, you could just grab it from the list of tools that are hidden and use it. All right, so that's what that last 3 dot, and it also gets you back to the edit toolbar. So just clicking Done, and this is showing me the slice tool because that was the tool at the top of the hidden tools, but it could be any one of those tools that are hidden, and you always have the option to get to it. So if you were like, remember how I was kind of like, I don't really use the pen tools? Well, I can still hide them. That way they're not in the way, they're not in the list because I don't use them that often. But then if I ever need them, I can go down to the menu and grab them. So so in other words, I shouldn't hesitate. I shouldn't say, oh, I might need them someday, because if I do, then I could always get to them. All right, so, and by the way, I don't need these. These were just leftovers. All right, so let's go in and let's go ahead and throw those, all this. I don't know if you can throw a whole group to the side at once. I think you can. Cool. So I threw that whole group to the side of tools that I never use, and just keeping this toolbar nice and short and compact, so that it's only got the tools in it that I do use all the time. So that way you can quickly get through your tool panel. And if I needed the pen tools are here somewhere. There they are. So all the pen tools are there. If I need them for that one job, that one time, I can get to them. But for the most part, it's just the tools I want. All right, same thing with the panels. So I would say, okay, for my Masterclass, do I use color? Yep. Do I use swatches? Yep. Do I use gradients? Yep. Do I use patterns? Never. I don't. I don't ever use patterns when I'm doing retouching. I just don't. Properties, yes. Adjustments, yes. Libraries, yes. Layers, yes. Channels, yes. Whatever. But there might be another tool you might use that is turned off by default. In this workspace, you might use the Navigator panel. So I definitely use Navigator. I definitely use histogram. So maybe I'll put the histogram up top. So that was there, and then I'll put the Navigator next to it. All right, so any panels that were not showing, you can go ahead and make them show just by going to the window menu and grabbing them. So if there are panels that you do use for this workspace, go ahead and grab those panels and show them, because we're going to create a brand new workspace of just the things we need. And that way we can turn off the things we don't need. So I'm just looking through the list to make sure I'm not missing something. But if I'm missing something, I can always come back and do it again. All right. That's it for panels right now. I'm going to keep it the way it is. I don't use the Paths panel by default. Let's go ahead and close that. All right. So this is my new kind of look and feel for my workspace. All right. Next up, before we save it as a workspace, let's talk about a couple more areas of customization. The two areas I skipped over up here. So you have keyboard shortcuts. Now, I'll be honest, because I teach, I usually don't do a lot of customizing of keyboard shortcuts. Because if I customize them too much, if I start switching them around to different ones or adding ones that, it's very rare to find one that you don't already have. But adding a bunch of keyboard shortcuts, then people are confused because I'm telling people to hit something that only works on my machine, doesn't work on theirs because I've customized it. But I show it all the time because a lot of times people will say, well, God, I wish this particular menu option had a keyboard shortcut. And I always say, well, just go add it. You can go not only add keyboard shortcuts to things that don't have one, but you can change the ones that do. So if you wanted to change it to something else, you could. So for example, let's go under the layer menu. So to create a new layer is Shift Command N, or PC, that would be Shift Control N. But you notice there isn't one for artboard, because basically wherever you see blanks, there are no keyboard shortcuts for that. Because basically there are more commands than there are available keyboard shortcut combinations. In other words, I've used all the keyboard shortcut combinations without putting your entire hand on the keyboard and maybe your right foot on the other side of the keyboard to come up with a keyboard shortcut that's not used. Now, if I were to go in and try and change it, I cannot change the Photoshop default set. So I would have to go in, and the minute I start changing, it's going to ask me, do I want to create a new set anyway? So let's say that I want to go to Artboard, and I click where there's going to be a keyboard shortcut, and I can add one. So let's say, just because I'm not thinking about anything else, I want that to be Shift, Shift, Command A. Now, I get a warning, and you're going to see this a lot in Photoshop because, like I said, the team has pretty much used just about every available keyboard shortcut that's available. So therefore, how can you use Shift Command A? Because it's probably already used for something else. So it's going to tell you what it's used for. Shift Command A is in use and will be removed from Filter, Camera Raw Filter if accepted. So that's up to you. If you would rather use it for Camera Raw Filter, then you have to change this to something else. If you say, hey, I never use that for Camera Raw Filter, I would rather it be Artboard, then you can make it Artboard. You can accept it. So it's your choice. You're picking and choosing which is more important to you. So maybe I say, oh yeah, Shift Command A, I do want that to still be camera raw. How about Shift Alt Command A? And then it's going to tell you, oh, wait a minute, that will be removed from the adaptive wide angle. Oh, I never use that filter. So I don't care about the adaptive. I never use it with a keyboard shortcut, definitely. So that one I can afford to change. So if I say add shortcut, then now it's changed. It's saying that that will no longer be the keyboard shortcut for whatever it was, wide angle adaptive filter. It will now be for artboard. So you can go menu by menu and change every single aspect of every command to whatever keyboard shortcut you want. And you just saw me give a command a keyboard shortcut that didn't have one. And so the minute I accepted that, you notice what happened. Up here at the top, it says set Photoshop defaults now is modified because I've changed what the defaults are. So I could go in now and I could say, go back to the defaults or keep it modified. So it's up to you. I'm going to keep it modified. You can also save it. So this is the two saves here. Create a new set based on the current set of keyboard shortcuts or save all changes to the current set of keyboard shortcuts. So I'm going to say create a new set. So create a new set. This is the TW keyboard shortcuts. So that way I can always transfer it to another machine. I can always add it to a workspace. That way, that's why I'm teaching you to make sets of the things you do. Now I can keep going to town. I can keep saying that, okay, for, let's do another one. Let's do a layer one. Oh, we did layer already. Let's do an image one. So for image, for, let's say I'm always doing HDR and I want this one to be a new keyboard shortcut. So I want this to be Alt, Command, Shift, H for HDR. What's that already? Oh, see, that one wasn't taken. It let me pick it. So they're not all taken. That one wasn't taken. It didn't give me a warning. So I've now assigned it that one, and boom. I found one that wasn't in use yet. Option, Shift, Command, H for HDR toning. Okay, so now, again, that's been modified, so I'm just going to click Save. So now my TW keyboard shortcuts are saved. And if I were to click OK and do Command, Option, Shift, H, that brings up my HDR toning because I now set that as my new keyboard shortcut. Is there a shortcut like the banana to get it back? Okay, so Kathy's saying, hey, Terry, you got rid of that paths panel. Is there a shortcut like the 3-dot thing to bring it back? No, because it's a panel, it's just always under the window menu. So if I needed to get back to paths, I just go in the window and grab paths. I can always bring it back. So panels are just always under the Windows menu. Even if you close them, delete them, get rid of them, you can always bring them back just by going to the window menu. And then if you want to keep it, you can just redock it. So good question. All right, so that was customizing keyboard shortcuts. Now, what about menus? This is another fairly new one. So keyboard shortcuts have been around for a long time, but customizing menus is fairly new. How do I add a shortcut for convert smart objects in the layers panel? Well, again, that's different because if it's not a menu, you got to remember what are keyboard shortcuts for? They're for menu commands. If it's not a menu command, then you don't add a keyboard shortcut for it, unfortunately. I don't make the rules. I just tell you what they are. All right, so let's go ahead and go to menus. And let's say, and this is a true story, I'm always looking for, and I'm looking for it now. I know it's under edit. I believe it's under edit. I'm always looking for this command and never, there it is. And I already did this once. But I'm always looking for the auto align layers command. I can never remember like where it is in the list, and visually for some reason I just never see it right away. So I've changed that already. If I go under edit, that is green. See that green highlight? Well, it's grayed out because we can't do it right now. But see that green highlight? So that way visually, boom, it's right there. It's green, it's the green one. Go under edit, green, boom, go right to it, and I change the color. So let's say I want to do that also for replace sky replacement, because I'm always doing sky replacement and I sometimes might not see it right away. So let's go in for sky replacement, and where it says color, I'm going to make it blue for blue skies. All right, so now my sky replacement is now going to always be highlighted in blue as soon as I accept it and click OK and save it. Let's save a preset, and we're going to call this TW menus. All right, so now we've done that. We're on TW menus. I click OK. I go up to edit, and boom, there's sky replacement blue. Fast, quick. I can get right to it. I can also make it a keyboard shortcut because it's a menu command. But boom, it's right there because I made it a color that's easy to see. So that way you can quickly get to things you're always trying to remember where, like you know what menu it's under, but it just doesn't jump out at you right away. Can you add a custom keyboard shortcut to perform an action? Yes and no. Actions can have F key shortcuts, but they can't have like the typical command, shift, blah, blah, blah. So yes, you can, but not straight up keyboard shortcuts. All right. Hey, I know that photo of her. Yeah, Paul Tranny, you were there. We took this photo together. So let's go in and where were we? We're talking about menus. We're talking. Oh, so that wasn't all for menus. It's not just about colors. So let's go back to menus. The other thing, remember how we got rid of tools we never use? Well, you can also get rid of menus you never use, like things you never use in the menus for a particular function you're doing. Like if I'm doing retouching, I can go to, for example, well, let's keep it simple. Let's keep it under the edit menu. If I'm doing retouching, chances are I am never going to use, let's say I'm never going to use the posterize effect because I hate it. I don't really hate it, but let's say I do. So I can just say, nope, hide that. I never use it. I never use match color because I'm now using the new harmonize neural filter. I never use equalize. I don't even know what that does anymore. So I can turn off the things in the menu that I'm never using to just keep the menu shorter. So not only can I highlight the things I want to be able to find quicker with a color, but I can also turn off the things I never use. For example, I don't use calculations usually when I'm doing retouching. I don't use variables when I'm doing retouching. I turn off that whole menu set. So I can just go start hiding things I never ever use when I'm doing retouching and turn those things off. So that way my, what menu are we under? We're under the image menu, I think. My image menu will be a lot shorter. Maybe you know what? I never use dual tone anymore because we have all these split toning capabilities in Camera Raw and Camera Raw filter. So I don't use that anymore. I don't use bitmap. I don't make things black and white anymore. I don't ever do that, ever, ever, ever. I don't ever mix thing index color anymore for like animated GIFs because I have better ways to do that now. So I can turn off the things that I never ever use anymore. I do use all of those things. I do use those things. All right, so you get the idea. Hide the things you never use in every single menu in Photoshop. I could hide this entire 3D menu if it would let me because I don't use that when I'm retouching. But I just would avoid that menu. So this is more about making the menu shorter by turning off the things you never use. So if they're filters you never, ever, ever use, you can make your filter menu shorter by turning those things off. Okay, so now I've modified my TW menu, so let's hit save to resave it. And we went under the image menu, so now if I go into the image menu and I go to mode, there's no more bitmap, it's gone. There's no more dual tone, it's gone. I made this menu shorter to just the things I use. Angie's saying, yeah, animated GIFs with laughy faces. No, you don't need that anymore for, or I'm sorry, index color, you don't need that anymore. Can you add custom keyboard shortcuts to, oh, we already answered that. Okay. All right, so let's now put it all together. So we did our tools, we did our panels. Again, you can keep tweaking to your heart's content, move things around. And by the way, so let's say, just for the sake of doing this workspace, that I move this over here where a lot of you will now like it from now on. So now I've got my brand new custom Terry White photography retouching environment. I've customized Photoshop to do all the things I wanted to do. We're not done yet, but let's say I was. I can now go in And I can go into and say new workspace. And I can create this workspace and call it TW Photography Masterclass Workspace. Even though I don't need to say workspace. Now, notice what it lets me capture. It says, hey, do you want to use the keyboard shortcuts you're using right now? Yes. Do you want to use the menus you're using right now? Yes. Do you want to use the toolbar you're using right now? In other words, if you don't check those things, then only the panels would change. But if you check these things, you're saying, yes, capture all the things I've turned on and turned off right now for this new workspace I'm creating. So now that I've done that, I've basically created, if I go into the workspace now, I've created a workspace called TWPMC Workspace that is specifically for what we just set up. So my sky replacement's there, my shorter menus are there, my shorter image menu is there, everything is there, my colors are there, my tools are there, everything's there, my panels the way I want them are there. And that way, if I now switch to a different workspace, let's say I switch back to Essentials, and let's reset Essentials. I go back to Essentials. It did not change the tools, so it maintained the tools that I had. So Essentials is still showing me the menus. I'm sorry, it changed the tools, but it's still showing me the menus I had. But it brought back, no, it did not. So it maintained. So it has, Essentials must have those things unchecked because it kept my menus and it kept my, let's see if it kept my keyboard shortcuts. Let's see if I can do my Command, Option, Shift, H. Yep, it kept my keyboard shortcuts for HDR toning. So when the Photoshop team created Essentials, they unchecked those things so that if you customize it, it will still not switch you back to them. But now if I go to my new workspace, it puts everything back to the way I had it. My tools come over here to the right. My panels change to the panels I want to see. All the keyboard shortcuts, all the menus are here, so we're ready to go. All right, now let's keep customizing. Now that we've done this, let's keep going. If we go under Photoshop's preferences, and we go to interface, and we bring that panel, that panel that opened on my other display all the way back over here. There we go. There's some things you can customize in here that are pretty cool. So Photoshop's now defaulted to, like most of the industry, to these, especially for pro applications, these darker workspaces. But I remember back in the day when Photoshop used to be very light like that. And if you like that, if that's easier on your eyes, you can switch it. You can even go all completely white with it. Now that looks so foreign and strange to me right now, but that's the way Photoshop used to look back in the day. That's the way all the applications used to look, not just Photoshop. So if you want to go back to the default, gray, or you can even go black and go completely dark, because now on all your devices, all the operating systems now have this dark mode. So you can make Photoshop dark like the rest of your interface, not as dark, or super light, your choice. So I'm going to keep it on the dark black theme. And so UI font size, this is a biggie, because on these bigger 4K, 5K displays that we're working on now, things can get tiny. So Photoshop lets you now change your UI font size to match your eyes, not just the resolution you're working at. So if you need things to be a little larger, you can make them large. So if I change these will not take effect until I quit and restart Photoshop. So maybe I don't want large. Let's go medium instead of small. All right, so I'll quit Photoshop and come back in a minute to show you what that looks like. But anyway, before we go on, you can also scale the UI to the font, which this will, you're setting the UI size, you're scaling the UI to match the font size that you've chosen above. So that's basically what it's saying. So like the rest of the UI, the tools and everything else. So that's up to you. So if I set this to, if I say scale to UI font, that means make everything medium. That's there. It took me a while to get to that explanation, but that's what it means. Okay, now here's some other, we'll reboot Photoshop in a second, but here's some other things. I'm going to make this image a little smaller. And you notice that this dark UI is on all the panels and the background. Well, the background's independent of that UI setting. If you right click on the background of the photo, now I don't mean the photo itself, I mean Photoshop's background. So if I right click on that, it's going to default to it's dark gray. I can make it dark like the rest of the UI. I can make it light. I can make it whatever. I can even make it a custom color. It does not have to be one of those. I can make it whatever I want to make it. And so this way, set the custom color. If you want the background to match, let's say, a project you're working on, like I want to see what this would look like on the same color as the wall that it's going to be printed out on, then I can match the background to the color of that wall. I can even put in the hexadecimal code to get the exact color if I want. So it's all up to you in terms of what you want that to look like. So I made it kind of a dark maroon purple color, and there you go. And Bruce is throwing up the mind blown emoji. All right, so right click, you have your defaults in custom, and even select your custom color. So I can go back to I can go black, make it nice and dark, and there we go. All right, next up. Hey David, how you doing? Next up, we were customizing you. Okay, so I was going to quit Photoshop. Let's quit. Don't save. Let's relaunch Photoshop now with the new UI change. And it's launching over there. And now it's over here. All right, and this brings me to another UI change because I like seeing my recents. I like seeing this home screen. You can turn this home screen off in the menu. And I used to make the joke. You get a new copy of Photoshop, the first thing you go do is turn off the home screen because you're like, this is in my way. I don't need these tutorials. I don't need these tips. I don't need any of this stuff. I can get to my recent documents. I don't need help. But there are a lot of things on here I like. So I used to not like it, but now I do. However, what I hated was the thought that when I get to this screen, I have to open an image to get to Photoshop. That I did not like. So I was turning it off for that reason. And then I think it was Victoria that taught me, you don't have to do that. You don't have to, like, there's a way to get off this screen but not have an image open. So it's just clicking the Photoshop logo in the upper left corner. That will just take you to Photoshop. You don't have to have an image open. And I was going on, I was just opening images I really didn't even need to open just to get to this and then close the image. And so you don't have to do that. And if you want to get back to the home screen, that Photoshop icon changes to a home. So you can toggle back and forth at any given time to get to that screen without having to open up an image you don't really need to have open. Don't give in to hate, at least to the dark side. You are absolutely right, General Kenobi. Okay, let's go into, and by the way, now we're seeing I see the slightly bigger tools. I don't know, the font size doesn't seem all that much bigger to me, but it's supposed to be medium now. And I want to go and open up our little birdie again. Or maybe I'll open up the tiger too. All right. Yeah, we had the bird up for a while. Let's open up the tiger now. All right, so where were we? We did, so I need to get back to my list. We did that. Okay, so now let's get into some interface type of things that a lot of people don't realize. Oh, and that's why I had that other image open. Let's see if I can find, oh, it probably is in my recents, maybe. Open recents. By the way, if you want to clear that recent list, like all those thumbnails, you might have something private that you don't want the next person coming behind you to see, or you just don't want to see that list of images. Maybe it was a project that was bad and you hated it. Don't give in to hate. You don't like it. So you can clear that list by going up to File, Open Recents, and Clear Recent File List. So that way you won't see that list of files. It'll start over again. It'll create a brand new list. So if you ever want to clear that, that's the way to do it. All right. Maybe I can do a different one. I don't have to have that same one. Let's open up a different one. Dun, 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 dun. All right, we'll do it with the happy dog. Okay, happy wolf dog, whatever that is. It's a dog. Okay, all right. So we got this open, and so a couple things. Number one, usually by default, your rulers are hidden. So on Mac, Command R, PC, Control R, that will bring up your rulers. Now your rulers are going to be measuring in the measurement system of the image you were, oh, yeah, I just answered your question. So I just saw a question. How can I remove the recent files from that first screen? Well, I just showed you. I didn't see your question before before I showed it. All right. Anyway, when your rulers come up in the measurement system they're in, so this looks like pixels, you can right-click on the measurement on the ruler to change the measurement system. So it's in pixels right now. I can change it to inches. Cool. Now I see inches. Now the image or the 0 points will always be in the upper left corner of the image. So 0 from the top down, 0 from the left to the right will be at this top left corner. If you hold down your Option or Alt key, you can drag out from the true upper left corner and reset 0, 0 to whatever point you just drug it to. So if I'm trying to measure from the tip of this dog's ear from there on down, then I could drag that 0 point to that. I didn't. I drug it because the paw was out. So I drug it to like right here. So actually I drug it right there. That's my 0 point. All right, so if you're trying to measure, and let's say I need a guide now for where 0 is. I don't have to eyeball it every time. So when you have the rulers up, you can also bring out guides. So I can bring out a guide and say, oh, that's 0 right there on the ruler. And here's 0 on this ruler. Great, now I don't have to guess anymore. I know where they are. By the way, if you're pulling out guides, here's just a Jedi trick, since I see General Kenobi there. When you start dragging out a guide and oh, shoot, I'm in a vertical guide. Hold down your Option key to flip it. So now you have a vertical guide. You don't need to freak out and drag out a different one. So if I'm dragging out a vertical and oh, shoot, I'm in a horizontal, Option or Alt and flip it. So your guides can be flipped to whatever orientation they need to be just by holding down the Option or Alt key while you're dragging. All right, next up, how do I get rid of these guides? Well, you can hide all the guides, but if you just want to get rid of an individual guide, just drag it back up to the ruler and it's gone. So you have an unlimited supply of guides that you keep pulling down or out from the rulers, and you get rid of them. Now, in Illustrator and all the other applications that are vector-based, you can select the guides as objects. So you can like drag a selection around the guide and just literally hit delete. Rumor has it that might come to Photoshop someday in the not too distant future. Just FYI. All right. I think the Photoshop team has finally realized that that's not a bad thing. That's actually pretty cool. Okay. Where was I going with this? So we did the rulers. We did that. Okay. Next up, let's get rid of our rulers. If you get rid of the rulers, by the way, that does not remove your guides. It just gets rid of the rulers. You want to hide. By the way, this is the command to clear guides. There's no keyboard shortcut for it, but if you want to assign a keyboard shortcut because you're always doing clear guides, you can make it. You now know how to make it a clear keyboard shortcut. So this is getting rid of them. This means take them off the screen. Don't just hide them. But if you want to hide them, then just do Command H to hide extras. So guides are considered extras, or things that aren't really part of the image are considered extras. So Command H will hide extras. Command H will hide them, and that little default that came up saying, what do you want it to do, is a Mac OS thing, because Command H on all other Mac OS applications means hide the application. So it would hide the application in the background. So Photoshop now, the first time you hit Command H, gives you a choice so that you can choose what you want the Command H behavior to do. Okay, so now the guide's been hidden. Let's bring up the Layers panel for a minute. Layers. Did I get rid of no, I didn't get rid of my Layers panel. That would be crazy. All right, bring up my Layers panel. The Layers panel is kind of one of those things we use a lot. So because we use the Layers panel a lot, we kind of want our Layers panel to be like easy to see, easy to use. I'm just dragging random images, by the way, so I can have some layers. This is, don't judge my design, because this is not a design. All right, anyway, so now I got some layers here. You can customize your Layers panel options by going to Panel Options from this little flyout menu in the upper right-hand corner here. So when I go to that flyout menu and go to panel options and bring that panel all the way back over here. There we go. You can choose a lot of things here. So for example, thumbnail size. Maybe that's too small to really even see what's going on. So I can have them nice and big. So when I click OK, my thumbnails are nice and big. But they're still tiny because I've got it set to another option that doesn't show me just the thumbnail. It shows me the thumbnail in relation to where it is in the layer. So it's showing versus the entire document is what it's doing now versus the layer bounds. So when I say layer bounds, that's probably what you're used to. You're probably seeing, oh, this guy's layer, I'm seeing the entire guy. This lion layer, I'm seeing the entire lion. Even though the entire lion is not representative of the layer, because the entire lion doesn't take up the whole layer, or the lion doesn't take up the entire layer is a better way to say it. So if I go back to panel options, I prefer entire document because that's more realistic for me, but you do you. All right, so next up, we talked about size. I'm going to choose a happy medium, somewhere in the medium middle there, and that way I can see it the way I like to see it. Okay, next up, let's go in and you can choose. There we go. I just want to see one more thing real quick here, and maybe not. There we go. So if you right click on a layer, remember how we made the menus more easy to see? You can right click on a layer and make a layer more easy to see by assigning them colors. So if you have a lot of layers and you're constantly having to remember which layer is which besides naming it, you can actually go in and change the color so that it pops out at you so that you can see that color. It doesn't do anything to the image. It just changes the way it looks in the layers panel. So layer colors is another trick that I use to quickly find layers that I want, especially in templates. Okay, got a few minutes left, so let me do the actions thing that that I've been wanting to show you here. Let's go to actions. Okay, I don't want that one. Let's do this one. Okay, so we have a portrait of a person here, and we want to, let's say I want to do a technique that I do all the time for dodge and burn. So do I have my actions panel up? Ooh, I would definitely want to add this to the workspace if it's not already here. Okay, so in my actions panel here, you notice that my actions are colors and they're like buttons because I always have my actions set to button mode. So that way, if I want to do my dodge and burn action, which is right there, blue in color, so I can see it quickly, I can just click on dodge and burn and it does it. It duplicated the layer, set the layer's blend mode to luminosity, and switched over to my, which if I get rid of this panel, switched over to my, in this case, the burn tool. So that way I can just immediately start using the tool without thinking twice about it. I know I'm in the right layer. I know I'm set up for success. And by the way, I'm over exaggerating the burning here. I'm all set and ready to go. And then all I have to do is switch to the dodge tool for the opposite part of that workflow that I want to do. So that's what I love about actions, is that you can set up actions to do quick things that you do repetitively all the time and make them a button so that you can quickly get to them. So let's tear off the actions panel. Get rid of the comments panel for now. And let's switch it out of button mode for now. And let's get rid of this extra layer. And let's say that I want to create that dodge and burn action again. So by the way, I have an action set called retouching. I can make a new action set called, I pull that panel back over and I got like 2 minutes to do this. Photography Masterclass. All right, so now we have a new action set called Photography Masterclass. It has no actions in it. So now we're going to create a brand new action. We're going to click the plus sign. And now when you click the plus sign, you're going to call this one dodge and burn. And remember when I said you couldn't have a command key, but you can have a function key? This is where you would set the function key for your actions. So I can make it F4 for whatever reason. And I can also make it a color. I can make it green. Make it green. All right, so now hit record, and it's ready to go. So the shortcut for this action will hide the paste command. Cancel. No, I don't want to hide anything. So that's the other thing. The F4 is already taken. All right, so anyway, let's go ahead and hit record. And so now Photoshop's just sitting there waiting for me to do whatever I want to do next. So I'm going to say layer, new layer via copy, and that will give me my duplicate layer. Then I'm going to say set the blend mode to that layer to luminosity, and done. And now I'm going to go ahead and choose my burn tool. So see what it's doing? Everything I do, it's recording each step. Make a new layer via copy, set the current layer to luminosity, and select the burn tool. So now I can hit stop recording, and that action is all set and ready to go. So let's get rid of that extra layer. And now let's go to dodge and burn, click on dodge and burn, and run it. Play. Done. It just did that way. Now, so if I switch to button mode, we're all set, and it would be down here at the bottom, a green dodge and burn button ready to go. All right, folks, that's it for my time. Thanks. Have a great weekend. Stay tuned for the contest thing, the Photoshop Daily Creative Challenge. Bye, everybody. Have a great weekend. I'm out of time. Cheers.